this afternoon. I'm just going to give a couple of seconds for everybody to filter through from the waiting room. I can see lots of people joining us. That is lovely to see. Lots of smiling faces. Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Every once in a while we get a good middle of the night. I hope we don't have too many of those, but you never can tell. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to this welcome event for the Oxford Executive Diploma in Organisational Leadership. I can and I should start by saying a huge congratulations. If you've joined the call, it's because you're holding an offer for the Executive Diploma, and you'll be joining us in Oxford in February 2025. We're very much looking forward to seeing you. And my name is Kate Richards-Whitworth. And I'm Associate Director for Recruitment and Admissions across all of the diplomas. I'll be joined this afternoon by Professor Sue Dobson, the Programme Director, my colleague Laura Loudon, the Recruitment Manager, and Matthew Wallen, who is the Programme Manager. I imagine most people on the call have spoken with Laura before today, but this probably for most people will be the first time that you'll be meeting directly with Sue and meeting directly with Matthew. So you will hear from all of us at different points across the call. If you have any questions, during the session and as we get to the end, we have the chat function running. So please feel free to pop any questions in the chat. Please feel free to raise a hand. Please feel free to ask a question in person. These sessions are designed to be as interactive as possible, and we would love to hear from you. So let's scroll along and see what we have planned. We're going, sort of after my welcome, to run through a programme overview with Sue. Laura will then take us through the kind of headlines of who you all are. So taking a bit of a closer look at kind of all of you and the class that means you'll be joining. We'll then have a short breakout session to give you all some time to start to meet and to get to know each other, followed by an introduction, as I say, to and by Matthew Wallen and the work that he'll be doing as your programme manager and in programme services. If we have time, we'll run a second breakout session to make sure that you can kind of have a chance to meet as many people in the class as possible. But we'll make sure that we finish off with enough time for some Q&A as well, in case there are any questions that come up for you across the session. So just a few ground rules. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, just to make sure that we can minimise background noise. Please do have your camera on. If you're able to, as I say, I can see that most people do, and it's lovely to see so many smiling faces. And please be ready with your questions later on in the session. And then the final thing for me to say before I hand over to Sue is that we are recording the session. We know that there are kind of a small number of people who won't be able to join us this afternoon, and for anybody who would like to revisit the session sort of after this afternoon as well, we'll circulate a recording in the next couple of days. So welcome again, thank you so much for joining us, and I will hand over to Sue for our programme overview.
Okay, thanks very much. And let me just say a huge welcome to this event and welcome to the programme. My name is Sue Dobson. I'm a professor here at the Business School. I also serve as Deputy Dean at the Business School. It's been my pleasure and privilege actually to be directing this course for many years now. I've actually forgotten how many years, but it's been a real professional highlight for me to be involved in this programme, because it's a programme where I see people really develop in their leadership and, think about their leadership in a different way. But let me just tell you a little bit about the programme. So maybe the next slide, just to look at the programme itself. And you can see that there are 4 modules, which I'll talk about in some detail in a moment, along with the assessments. But essentially, they're designed fundamentally to be linked and give you a coherent journey to think about your leadership, but also different aspects of your leadership. So very briefly, and I'll say a bit more in a moment about each module, but we start off with leadership fundamentals. So that notion of, we need to just reflect on, what is known about fundamentally what you do as a leader. So motivation, influencing, etc. So that's very much the anchor point, if you like, of the diploma. And you'll find that you'll come back to those concepts as you move through the various modules. So Leadership Fundamentals is called Leadership Fundamentals because it's fundamental. Then we move to a strategy mindset. And you know, often in leadership programs, we forget about strategy. And in some ways, our leadership work has to be aligned to our strategic intent. So strategy and leadership are two sides of the same coin. So we very much molded that second module to think about strategy in relation to leadership work. Then we have the third module, which is around the strategic leader. And this is where we knit modules 1 and 2 together. Fundamentally, this is about implementation. Yeah, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know as a leader. So we're looking at strategies for implementation. And then finally, we have this notion of resilience. Resilience in relation to individual, group, and organization. So it's not just your resilience, it's how do you build resilience in the organization as well. And then we have the final integrative assignment, which I'll say a little bit more about in a moment. And then happy, we have the graduation. Okay, so I hope that's a high overview about how these modules are knitted together. The red thread throughout is you. In a way, you are the program, but we're giving you lots of content to digest and experiment with. And the lovely thing about this rhythm of the diplomas, not just this diplomas, but all our diplomas, is that you have a sort of pausing period. Yes, you have an assessment, which helps you consolidate your learning, but you also have a chance to experiment in your own work about some of the ideas and play with some of these ideas in between the modules. Okay, let's go to the next slide then, which is very much a little bit more in depth of what I've said, leadership fundamentals. You can then see, you know, the judgment that we've made about what are the topics that are fundamental to leadership. Managing change, motivation, groups, organizational culture, power, and design. So there will be an assessment after that, which is very much a personal assessment, a chance to think about a leadership challenge that you have, drawing on some of those ideas. We flip to the second next slide, the strategic mindset. You know, this really gives you more detail about what I've said about strategy, competitive advantage, strategy and change, global strategy, but new ways of engaging people in a strategy process. So you begin to see how that builds on the motivational work in leadership fundamentals. Okay, next slide then for module 3, the strategic leader. This notion of implementation, networks, relationships. What is the global mindset? Influencing strategies. And then finally, this leads to the resilience piece, where you talk about, you know, how do you build high quality connections that are going to build your resilience and help you learn further as a leader? How do you deal with relationships that are not healthy at work? And as well as thinking about organizational resilience. So I hope that seems appealing and I hope not a surprise to you, but if we just go to the next slide, which talks a bit about the assessment. So in some ways you've got, you know, different methods of different methods of evaluation. You can see the times there, the deadlines, etc. And I think one of the things that I notice increasingly is, you know, how important the community is of the cohort, yeah? And often the cohort in preparing for these exams or assessments, you know, we'll break into sort of study groups, maybe in different countries or different areas, you know, supporting each other in preparing for these exams. But I want to say something about the final integrative assignment. This is a 6,000 word assignment. It's not that long for you know, the in-depth analysis that, you know, you might want to explore, but it's a chance for you, having reflected on the material and your own leadership challenges, to really have a chance to have a deep dive into something. It might be a problem that you're dealing with at work. It might be a new arena you want to explore. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to, really impact the learning into some kind of context that you have. But we'll support you all the way on that. So I hope that's been helpful, just to reiterate that you will learn as much from each other as you will from people like me standing in the classroom. And we try very hard to have various different kinds of learning interventions, because we know people learn in very different ways. So it'll be very much not just talk, but also unpacking your experience and sharing your experiences and learning from them. So let me just, I think that's, go to the next slide, which I think is another colleague, but just to say, I'll be with you all the way. I'm your program director. I'm around in between modules as well to talk to, and very much looking forward to going on the journey with you. Laura.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sue. Hi everybody. It's really nice to see you here together for the first time. I know I've been in touch with most of you, or all of you, sort of over recent months. So yeah, welcome and lovely to see you. I'm just going to share a little bit more about the class that you'll be joining in February. Before I get started, just to mention that this photo is taken of the 2022 class. So they graduated last autumn. So this will be you guys in 2026 in the Sheldonian Theatre, which is about 10 minutes or so away from the business school. So if we move to the next slide, please, Kate. Thank you. So as Kate mentioned earlier, I'm just going to give a sort of top line information about the class that you'll be joining and the people that you'll be learning with. This data isn't final. We still have a few final people working their way through the admissions process. We have actually 2 months today until the programme starts. But as it stands, we're expecting a class of about 50 people, which is generally what we see for the programme. So it's a really good size. And as you can see here, the average age is 40, but there is, we always see a lot of range within that. So we have people who are in their late 20s, we have people in their 60s. The top end that I've seen so far is 72. So, it's great to have this represented, the sort of diversity of experience in the classroom. Female representation is 40% at the moment. We're hoping it will go up. Last year, actually, it was over 50%. I think it might have been 52%. So hopefully that will increase a little bit. And we have 31 nationalities, which is higher than normal. Normally, we're sort of at mid-20s, and I'll touch more on that on the next slide. And, as you can see, you're a really experienced bunch, so averaging about 16 years of experience, but again, absolutely fine if you have more than this, if you have less than this, you've all sort of gained a place in the programme and will bring a really important and unique perspective. Please, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. So you can see here the split across the globe at the moment. As you probably know, diversity is hugely important, and as Sue said, you'll learn so much from each other. So it's really great to have a global class and pretty much every continent covered. And the data here is from your nationalities, not where you're living. And I know quite a few people don't live in the country that they were born. So again, that adds sort of further diversity of perspective. So yeah, a really fantastic class across the globe. And then if we go to the next slide, please, Kate. We have a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the industries and organisations that are represented. Again, a really wide mix. So just to mention a few, people working in technology, consulting, education, healthcare, government, charities, and a few logos there, but obviously many more that aren't covered. So yeah, a really great diverse mix. And then the next slide, please, isn't so much related to the class, but just something that we want to highlight is that we run every year executive insight and impact sessions, which aren't compulsory part of your diploma programme, but they are, and it's an offering that is for all diploma students. So it's a really nice way to network with other people studying in the same year as you. So as you can see, we run a number of webinars across the year, and obviously you'll be notified about these and the final dates. about half are sort of with career coaches and things that sort of topics that we've covered previously are things like how to make a career switch and building your personal brand. And then we also run sessions with other members of faculty. So they're talking about sort of relevant business topics, and it's all designed to enrich your learning in other areas and sort of gain a broader view of certain business areas. So we just want to highlight that you can expect to hear more information about that. So now we will pause and move people into breakout rooms. So I'm just going to quickly do that now and give you, let's have a look at the clock. I think probably 6 or 7 minutes just to go into small groups. You should hopefully be in groups of 4 or 5. So, you know, yeah, don't take too long each, but a minute or so just to really say who you are, you know, what you do, what you're looking forward to, and just a quick chat to say hello and get to meet some faces so that when you arrive on your first day. Oh, I've had a hand raised from Sergi. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there is any, hello everyone, and I was wondering if there is any space for the questions that we will.
But to ask questions?
Right. But
yes, at the end we'll do a Q&A, but if you have a burning question now that you'd like to ask, if you'd rather. Okay, but yes, yeah, right at the end we'll come together and answer any final questions. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to create these rooms and we'll close them and see you back here, yeah, in a few minutes, so enjoy.
Okay, great. I think we've got everybody back. I hope everyone has had a really good, interesting discussion. I'm going to be speaking for the next while. So as Laura said, my name's Matthew Wallen. I'm the program manager. I'm going to be accompanying you on your diploma journey for the next year. I just want to echo, first of all, what's already been said. Congratulations on obtaining a place at Oxford. It's a fantastic achievement, and it's really nice to meet you and start to put faces to names. So as program manager, I'm going to be responsible for the day-to-day organizational administrative running of the program. So I'm responsible for all aspects that are not directly related to the academic content, which Sue looks after, and also not related to the assessment side of things. There's a separate team who deal with that. So just moving on to the next slide, please. So I'm just going to run through quickly kind of your journey through the diploma and your various different points of contact. So the first couple you'll already be familiar with. Before applying, you've spoken to Laura or likely Hannah, and they will have talked to you, you know, and sort of given you an initial idea of the program. Once you've applied, you've been speaking to the admissions team, perhaps Joanne Boyland or Alex McNamara. And then once your place is confirmed, once your deposit is paid, you're being onboarded, and that will be where you become become part of the official program, and I start to look after you. And then moving forward, it'll seem a long time away, but I promise you it will come quickly. At the end of your program, and when you graduate, you'll become alumni of the business school and of Oxford University, and there's a separate team who look after you and continue that relationship. You know, this is a one-year program, but it's very much the start of a lifelong relationship with Said Business School and with Oxford. And just in the bottom right, we have a few other useful contacts. So I'm supported by a range of teams who look after specific areas there. You can see their contact details. I act as your sort of main point of contact. I'm very happy to field any questions. If I don't know the answer, I will direct you in the right direction to somebody who can help. So just moving on. So I'm just going to talk a bit about the sort of rhythm of the program and each of the different modules. Sue's kind of touched on some of this already. But so each one of the 4 modules has a number of different components. We start off with the pre-work, any pre-reading preparation that you're required to do. Our pre-work is hosted on a platform, a virtual learning platform called Canvas. So that will be what you'll be using throughout the program. You get access to Canvas about 4 to 6 weeks before the module. The the access to the initial sites for the start of the program will be going out in early January. Subsequent modules 2, 3, 4, they will be released about 4 to 6 weeks beforehand. So Canvas is part of our IT infrastructure. There will be a dedicated support session, a live session bit later in January. If you have any questions or need any assistance with our IT infrastructure. We also have, as you saw on the last slide, a dedicated team, our IT help desk, who you can contact at any time for questions about that. We then move on to the module week itself. That's a 4-day in-person event in Oxford. That's a very intense time. It's a time to come together, to learn, to be exposed to a lot of different ideas and content, and also to mix, socialize, network with your other colleagues. There'll be also opportunities for extracurricular activities. So as I say, it's kind of a sort of a really intense period. You then have a period of perhaps 2 months after each module to kind of sort of go home, digest, review what you've learnt, discuss with each other, let the ideas and the knowledge sink in, and then you have the assessment, which Sue has already touched upon, and then just on the right we have the final integrative assignment. Slightly different rhythm. You've got 3 months immediately after the final module. So next slide, please. So here you can just see a sort of a typical module week timetable. So starting on Wednesday, finishing on Saturday. Teaching runs broadly from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 or 5:30 in the afternoon. Usually there are 4 core teaching sessions per day. In the evening, there are a range of activities. Usually as standard, we take you to dinner at one of the Oxford colleges. There will also usually be a drinks reception or perhaps a meal at an Oxford pub. And there'll also typically be a seasonal activity as well. Particularly module 1, there are also the shorter sessions, sort of induction sessions, where somebody from the library, from IT services, from assessment will come and speak to you, just to bring you up to speed on those things. So next slide, please. And kind of just sort of staying on the extracurricular side of things. It's not just about the core academic content. It is about the Oxford experience, and we find from we're speaking to previous students, this is a really valued aspect of the course. So here we'll just have a few of the activities you can expect. As I said, a college dinner, drinks receptions, hunting, which is a boating activity, which is very specific to Oxford and Cambridge. Evensong, which is a choral service in one of the chapels, and the walking tour, so you can go and explore the beautiful historic centre of Oxford. So just moving on. So your graduation ceremony, again, this was touched on before. This will happen in 2026. This is a really lovely occasion to celebrate your achievement and mark the end of your programme. It takes place in the Sheldonian Theatre, which is the ceremonial heart of Oxford, a 350-year-old building designed by Sir Christopher Wren of St Paul's Cathedral fame. And you'll be able to invite guests, family, friends to join in the celebrations there. Next slide, please. Moving on to a different aspect of the course. So Oxford, as you may know, is a collegiate university. It is made up of approximately 40 different colleges. Each student studies at a particular department, but they're also members of a college. As students on the Diploma programme, you will have associate membership of Pembroke College. This is a college located right in the heart of Oxford. It's about 400 years old. In fact, it's celebrating its 400th anniversary this year, which actually makes it fairly middle-aged in Oxford terms. Where the various famous alumni, just one major name to mention is J.R. Tolkien. of which Pembroke are justifiably proud. So this is a kind of a dual membership. So you're members of the business school, but you're also members of the college. And again, students really appreciate having that extra dimension, that extra avenue into integrating into the Oxford community. Pembroke has a strong involvement with various different departments, including management studies and the business school. So there's a long relationship there, and we're really happy that we continue that relationship. It's made up of different sections. You, as postgraduate students, will become members of the graduate community known as the Middle Common Room, the MCR. They put on various events. There's even the opportunity, if you're feeling really keen, to get involved in the committee there. So really make as much of the college connection as you would like. Next slide, please. And just finally, I think, so just sort of coming back to my role, this just gives you an overview of what I'm able to help you with and what I'm here for. So I'm going to be assisting you in the coming weeks with your onboarding, with your preparation for the program, and also then continuing in your time on the program, navigating through the program and through the university and the side business school. I can advise on policies, procedures, and I will also be coordinating with class representatives. In fact, Sue and I have a close sort of working relationship with class representatives. So these are two individuals who will be elected after module 1, as it says, to kind of represent the cohort and act as that go-between for the cohort and the school. And just finally on the right, I can't bend university regulations, and they always put this in every year. I can't write your assignments for you. I promise you would not want me to do that. It really wouldn't give you any advantage. I think that's everything from me. So hand back.
Thanks, Matthew. I think we thought, just for the sake of time, and we appreciate we started a little bit late, what we might do is pause for questions here, and then if we have time, well, Matthew's got one more slide, and if we have time, we'll do another breakout exercise. But it's more important that we give you the time to ask any questions that you have for any of us, all of us. Please feel free to raise a hand, or you can put it on the Q&A. Yes, thank you so much, Sergi. Who's first? So please do go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this kind introduction that helps us to understand the ecosystem much better and this opportunity to connect with other people. My question is about the content of the program. So I saw the strategy and resilience, so being a big part of it, including multiple ingredients, which are very useful, and I'm looking forward to learn about them. But I was thinking about the evolution of the leadership as a servant leader, leader as a coach, and application of AI. So these 3 topics, will they be covered somehow in the program?
Yeah, perhaps if I can take that one, Sergi. So nice to meet you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, in module 1, we'll be looking at how leadership thinking has changed more generally, and the different ways in which leadership practices have changed and are emerging. Coaching is something that I should have said something about that. I'm a coach myself. You will have the opportunity not only to learn about coaching as a leadership practice, but we will offer you a coaching session, each of you, to be triggered at a time that suits you during the program. So that will be in there. In terms of AI, yes, that will come probably in module 3, where we'll be looking at that. Obviously, it's an interesting question because 2 years ago that was not in the on my horizon for a leadership program. Now it is. So the content, whilst it's kind of core, we tweak and it emerges. And people who know me know I'm a bit restless, and I always try something a bit new, which is good as well. So all of that will be covered for you. But thank you for reminding about the coaching, because as I say, each of you will be offered the opportunity to work with one of our coaching community. I hope that helps, Sergi.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question about hotels and sort of accommodation as well. So, and Joanna mentioning we do have some corporate rates available at certain hotels, and we can share that. I think it should come from admissions. I'll check if they've sent that. If not, we'll get that sent out. A good website to use is University Rooms as well, which is available to everybody, but it lists all colleges that have availability during that time. So if you'd like a sort of traditional experience, it's always worth checking that, but they do get booked out really quite far in advance. So I'd say you want to be looking at that as early as you can. Obviously, you know your dates, but stuff does come available sometimes last minute as well. So it's just, thanks, Joanna, for adding that. And yes, she's mentioned Courtyard Marriott is probably the, other than the hotel directly opposite the business school, which I've forgotten the name of, considering how close it is. The Courtyard Marriott is the closest hotel, I would say. Hi, Storm. Lovely to see you. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks, everyone. That was a great presentation. I just have some questions about the actual timing. Obviously, for those of us coming from outside of the UK, I want to maximize on my time and my Oxford experience. I know it was touched upon in the previous session, just in terms of all the other events going on in the Oxford ecosystem, but what is a typical amount of time to spend besides the sort of Wednesday through the weekend in Oxford? How would you advise us to plan for that?
I'm happy to take this. Thanks very much, Storm, for the question. I mean, I'd say there's probably no typical time because everybody's circumstances depend on how long they want to stay, or they can take away from family and work commitments. Some people just come literally for the 4 days. You should plan to stay until 5 o'clock on the Saturday. But some people take the flight out straight after that. But certainly we do find quite a number of students do want to stay for longer, and probably the more they progress into the program and they realize how much there is to do, that's probably that they choose to stay longer. So yeah, people do come the weekend before, or they would stay a few days afterwards. So yeah, it's really up to you, but can definitely be a great idea.
And sometimes once you all sort of get to know each other better and you're heading towards the summer months, I know cohorts have sort of self-organized various events that are going on in Oxford. So sometimes people tag on a weekend and you all go and do an activity that's taking place in Oxford, or people have gone to the Henley Regatta, and if it crosses with interesting things that are going on in the UK at that time. But again, that's very much down to personal, choice and situation.
It's maybe also worth mentioning that if you do, as part of, if during the program you come to Oxford for a longer period of time, you can access obviously the business school during the whole time that you are a student. So you can, you have access to the facilities, you have access to the seminar rooms. So if you'd benefit from some space to do some work, during a longer period of time that you're spending in Oxford, you have the business school sort of always as a base for that. You have Pembroke College as a base for that, and the university libraries. You don't own, and you kind of don't only have access to those during the 4 days of the module. So hopefully, and I think those are resources that people use if they do want to come to Oxford, as I say, for a longer period of time. That can sometimes make it a little bit easier to sort of to integrate with ongoing work.
Thanks, that's very helpful.
Great, we've got another question. Yes, now you should get those the accommodation. So thank you so much for sharing those rates. But yes, you should get that emailed out. So I'll ask our admissions colleague afterwards.
And just to add, they'll also, we'll email them around, and they will also be on Canvas on the virtual learning platform. So there'll be several different ways you can access them.
Oh, great. Thanks, Matthew. For those who like studying late, are their libraries open post 10 p.m? I'm not sure. Matthew, do you know? Are you a night owl?
I'm not sure. Possibly the college. I don't know. Don't quote me.
No, I don't know either.
Sorry, no.
We are clearly not people who like studying.
No, we do not study after 10.
No, I was just remembering my university days, like 10, 12 years ago.
Yes. There probably are. I imagine there are some. Again, all that information will be available via a quick Google and things. So yeah, I'm sure there will be. Any other questions that people would like to ask while we're all here? Yes, exactly. The pub. It's always a good option.
Lots of pubs with lots of Wi-Fi in Oxford. Yes, you can. You can set up with a pint and do your late night studying there for sure.
Exactly. Not a bad way to spend the evening. Oh,
So-
yes. Was that a
we
new
have
hand?
Sergey, I think, has
Sergey,
raised
yeah.
his hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's me again. I hope I'm not
No.
interrupting anyone else's opportunity. But mine was another one is about the community. So they have the Needle Common Room, Pembroke College, maybe Said Business School itself has one. Oxford alumni is one of them, but maybe there is a current running community. Like, for example, we're joining and we want to connect with other people within Oxford. There was a presentation from Kate about the ecosystem of Oxford. So it's a rich environment and it's a big topic. So I was wondering, to build those which are connecting with leadership, entrepreneurship, like with the core of our cores, who would be the right person to reach to build it together?
Yeah, I can take this. I mean, there is a huge amount going on. There are a lot of different groups, communities, activities going on. There's quite a bit of information that will again be on Canvas on the platform that you'll get access to. There will be in module 2, sort of let you settle in a bit first, but in module 2, the alumni team will come and speak to you, and they'll start to talk to you about the Oxford Business Alumni Network. I think. Unless it's had a rebrand, that's what it's called. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. I mean, if you're particularly interested in something specific, come and speak to me or speak to Sue, and we can make sure you get connected to the right people in the right place.
Great, thank you very much.
Sergey, I don't know how much sort of investigating you've done so far, but Oxford is the sort of place where pretty much anything you could think of that you're interested in, there will be a group of other people who are interested in that thing and who will want to talk about it with you and share it with you and learn more about it with you. So don't hold back in terms of what you're looking for, because kind of, as I say, the university is so interdisciplinary, it's so diverse, it's so global, and one of the nicest things I think is that that the strength of community is so strong. So as I say, it's not a place where people sort of sit at a desk doing their own work and focusing only on that. Everybody wants to know about what everybody else is doing and support and what everybody else is doing. So as I say, the chances are, if you're interested in something, somebody else will be, and they'll want to talk to you about it, whether that's in the library or at the pub or in the common room, anywhere and everywhere. So yeah, do as much as you can to take advantage, because it's quite a unique environment to find yourself in.
Very true. Thanks, Kate. So any final questions? Otherwise, I think maybe we should forego the exercise, because I'm conscious of time and I don't want to keep people over time. And I know Matthew just has one further slide of sort of last minute housekeeping and actions that might need to be taken, but we could probably take another question. Let me just check. I don't think there's anything there. There is a LinkedIn group, which I have been sending to people, but apologies if you've recently received an offer. But I popped it on the chat, and it would be nice to yeah, please register, and I'll let you in. It's a private group, and we'll be sharing information there as well, so you can start getting connected with one another. But no, I think we can go to Matthew's slide. Thanks.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yes, this is just a kind of a quick summary of step by step of what you need to do next, or just to check that you've done all of these things. So yeah, paying your deposit is the step to be confirmed, and then all the next steps kind of come after that. Once you've done that, you should have received a link from the admissions team to complete a survey, to complete your bio, and also to give a headshot, to give a professional photo, and also to submit your university card forms. They're all really important things. Please do make sure you do those. The questions you put in the answers you put in the survey will be fed into the profile book, so that will be circulated amongst yourselves and amongst the professors. So yeah, do make sure that's completed. In early January, there'll be some next steps. So to you get access to your Said Business School lifelong email account. And then a couple of days later, you'll get access to Canvas, to the virtual learning environment platform, and then you have the opportunity, well, the requirement to complete the pre-reading. In the meantime, do apply for visas, book travel accommodation. The admissions team are happy to help with that. We spoke about accommodation a bit. I'm also on hand to give suggestions for accommodation. And then finally the final tuition invoice. Kate, Laura, I think I've covered everything there.
I think so. I would just reiterate, as Matthew said, that a lot of these processes are things, sort of one thing can't happen without the other thing having happened. So the point at which you pay your deposit is the point at which your place is essentially confirmed. And then from then on, we need the university card form to be completed to be able to set up an email address. You obviously can't activate an email address unless we've been able to set it up. And that kind of kicks off the process of becoming part of the impenetrable labyrinth that is the University of Oxford's IT systems. But again, the sooner you can do that, the earlier you can do that. The more time it has to bed in. We'd advise sort of moving through these processes as quickly as you can, sort of now that we're approaching the start date of the programme.
Thanks, Kate. There's a question actually about the final invoice. I did double check this with admissions, and I think finance working on those at the moment. The university does shut, so next week is basically the last sort of week, and then I think majority of people are off until January. So I'm not 100% sure, but I did ask, and I anticipate it will probably be early January.
Yes, I would think early January as well. In terms of the question from Siwe around step 2, do you mean the completing the admissions survey and the headshot and things? Assuming that that's what you mean, the member of the admissions team that you've been in touch with will be able to confirm with you that they've received sort of everything there that they need. So if you send them over a quick email, they'll be able to confirm that, and also if there's anything that they still need from you, and they'll be able to lay out clearly for you what that might be as well.
Great. And then the visa.
As a general rule, Khalid, I would say that you wouldn't need to apply for a different visa, but we are not visa experts at the same time, and I would always recommend that you double check that with the visa issuing authority. As the diplomas are part-time programs, they don't support student visas, so no diploma student travels on a student visa. People generally get the standard visitor visas, and those then, as part of those visas, they cover the right to study for up to 6 months. As I say, I'm 99% certain that an existing valid tourist visa would be absolutely fine, but I would check with the issuing authority to be 100% sure. It's not something that you or we or kind of anybody wants to be getting wrong, as it can cause problems at very inconvenient times.
Lovely. So
let me just scroll through to the very end. Oh, I thought we had a little contact slide, but obviously if anybody has questions after the call, I'm available, Laura's available, Matthew's available, and please just let us know. We'll be very happy to hear from you.
yes, we're really looking forward to welcoming you to Oxford in February, and thank you so much for your time today. I hope it's been helpful, and yes, wishing you all a very happy holidays and a great new year. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you. So I hope today's been helpful, and thank you so much, and thanks to obviously the team here as well. Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
guys. Merry Christmas. All the best. See you
Merry
soon.
Christmas.